over the years, we've had over 70 horses. Right now we have 26. We have a lot of volunteers around here. And some of our volunteers were telling us that this is their sanctuary too. So that's how the human end of that sanctuary came in. And then since then, we have opened up the ranch to a number of different groups. People that are on various levels of the autism spectrum. We have people that are in recovery, substance abuse recovery come here. We have people that just need a horse. That breakthrough comes with telling your story to a horse, because they will not judge you. And you now all of a sudden get that out of you, and it helps people a lot. It began about 2003. I was one of the founders of USA Today back in 1981, 82. And I left there in 1994 and started my own company. It was a marketing and entertainment company. 9/11 hit, my business died. Honestly, I almost drank myself to death. Went into rehab in 2003. While I was in rehab, my wife left me. We'd been married 25 years. I was wondering what I was going to do with my life, because I had nothing anymore. All I had was my truck. And I remember as a kid, I was happiest around horses. I hadn't been around horses since I was a kid. That summer, I got out of rehab and I knew this woman who owned a horse rescue. She would take in horses and then adopt them out. She would call me and say, "Jim, I got a horse that's unadoptable." One was blind in one eye, one had behavioral issues, one was too old, she had all these stories. And she said 5 words that hit me like a God shot right then. She said, "Jim, you're all they've got." Right that very second, I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give horses like mine that had nowhere else to go the best, happiest, healthiest lives they could have ever imagined. And right then on the spot, that's how Tierra Madre Horse Sanctuary was born. Horses don't care if you're the president of the United States or if you're picking roaches out of your Raisin Bran. As long as you're honest and calm and nice to them, they're going to repay you in spades. Okay, so a lot of these kids that come, they're judged by humans, right? It happens all the time. Kids with autism, kids with challenges, they're judged their whole life. Horses don't care. They care about the soul inside. And that's why we had one young man here who doesn't speak. One day I looked over, he was with our biggest horse, and the two of them had their foreheads together. And they stood there for 7 or 8 minutes. And like, I don't know what was going on, but those two were having a conversation that was only the two of them were privy to. And it was like the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And then the kid walked away and didn't say another word to us humans. But he and the Iron Man, who was the horse, they really talked some tough talk to each other, whatever it was. So we see that a lot with a lot of these kids, and we make them do work. We give them a task to do, they have to do the task, then they can play with the horses. It's a work and reward system, that we all have to learn as we're growing up. And teacher tells us that for 2 days, minimum of 2 days after they get back, the whole class is much more behaved and attentive to what they're learning.
We're at the garden space here at Tierra Madre, and we're utilizing it for outdoor learning. We nurture children through nature. They love coming to climb the trees. It's a safe space for them to explore nature and their body's abilities.
We have several here that were BLM horses, Bureau of Land Management, rounded up. If you really want to know it, the ranchers have a ton of money, and they buy lobbyists, and the lobbyists buy the politicians. There are ranchers that have 10,000 acres. They've got a bunch of skinny old cows, right? They complain that the horses are eating the feed. In most cases, that's nonsense. But because they have the power behind them, that influences the BLM to say, oh, there are too many wild horses here in this area. We have to cull the herd. We have to get rid of those. Well, those horses now get rounded up, and they get rounded up in the most inhumane way by being chased by helicopters that are flying 20 feet above the ground. It's just a horrible thing, and a lot of them end up going to slaughter. The United States has banned horse slaughter, but they haven't banned the shipment of horses over the borders to be able to go to slaughter. Somewhere around 30 to 40,000 horses a year go to Mexico or Canada. The state of the horse in America today, there are too many horses being bred, all for the possibility that a champion arises out of that and somebody makes a bunch of money. Okay? There's only one winner of the Kentucky Derby every year. There's only one winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic. The other 25,000, they may run out of a home. Horses, which I might add, are what built this nation. Without the horse, this nation never would have been built. They moved everything. They moved freight, they built buildings, they grew all our crops, and all of a sudden, now they become some sort of a pleasure thing, and we've lost our heartstrings to the horse. The one thing that we depended on more than anything else in this world has now been tossed aside, and that's why I'm here. The land is supported by its wildlife. It's part of the great circle of life. Horses eat, they move along, they defecate. Seeds get planted, trees grow, grasses grow. Without the wolves, the whole balance of nature gets messed up. If you take a big important cog out of a wheel and all of a sudden that machine isn't going to run anymore. I don't care if you're talking about the wolf, the bear, the horse, the beaver. Those things were put here for a reason by Mother Earth to give stability to the world. And then when you start pulling pieces out of that, the whole balance of nature gets messed up. And it's happening around here. Here in the Phoenix area, they're just plowing the desert down, putting up houses. And that's taking away the habitat of the coyote, the owl, mice, groundhogs. It's taking away the bees. We start losing the bees, man, we don't have anything left. Everything is put there for a reason. I think that we have to get closer to that again. So that's what we do here. Our job is to give a bunch of horses the happiest, healthiest lives they could have ever imagined. And what those horses do on their own with people, that's their job. So it's kind of completed a circle. And that circle has given me my redemption and my salvation, you know, and everything else is like gravy. It's all icing on the cake from here on. If you talk to the animals, you will understand the animals. What you understand, you will not hurt.